to have knowledge regarding these about these subjects, and then they'll dive into, a subject that a subject of your choice. They will ask you maybe what are you comfortable with. Let's say you are comfortable with computer networks or OS of operating system, or maybe you're comfortable with coding. They will ask you questions based on that, right? So I said I was comfortable with OOP, and that is object oriented programming and computer networks. So my interview was based on that, uh, after they asked me about machine learning, right? So there were like scenario based questions in the OP. When she asked about OP, she gave me like a piece of code, and then like asked me about where were the classes, and she asked me about encapsulation and all that. So you need to like clear up your concepts. Your concepts need to be very clear. That's what they're looking for. The next round will be a managerial round, where the questions will be more behavioral, and about current affairs, and typical problem solving sessions will be there in the managerial interview. It will be somewhat like, tell me about yourself, what are your weaknesses, your strengths, and stuff like that. Current affairs based questions were there in my interview. The manager asked me that he will like name a few things, and then I'll have to speak on those topics for about a minute. And it was like absolutely like new things, like Neeraj Chopra, about religion, about Hyderabad, like random topics, but you have to, you know, answer those questions calmly, politely, and without going into much controversy, right? So that was there. After that, it was an HR round with one of the directors in Microsoft. There, I was asked about the stuff that was on my resume, if I had done any projects, any internships, any sort of uh, hobbies that I have, what I'd like to do in my free time, what projects I have worked on, right? So those things were there. I had a separate language specialist round after this interview with the director. And in that language specialist round, I was asked about things like what makes me unique, and a storybook that I might have read, something that might have, touched my heart, and how I feel about that. It's basically testing your communication skills, right? So that was there. And lastly, there was another panel interview, sort of HR thing. It was also the same, about yourself, and like there are a lot of HR interviews. I can say that after the technical, you'll mostly have behavioral questions to answer, and you know research on Microsoft's mission statements. Probably, you have to align your interests with Microsoft's. That's what you're looking for. Okay, so some general tips, I guess I'll give you. First of all, in the GD, I found this very very useful, that if you have a polite and very calm uh, tone, it will help you. I remember one of the guys in my GD round, he was a bit, on the aggressive side. When I said something and he disagreed, he was a bit aggressive there. So don't do that, I guess. Just politely say that I disagree with you, and then move on with your point. Do not bounce your legs or do something that will shake the screen too much, because that was being done by one of the people. Uh, Avoid that. Secondly, I would highlight that during the managerial interview, sometimes the managers will ask you about your weaknesses, and they will ask you to be very honest, because mine said that I'll be honest with you. I am very lazy. So you be honest with me and tell me about your weaknesses, right? And let me tell you, that is totally a trick question. And you have to say something that doesn't, reduce your ability to be hired, right? Say something that is genuine, but it's not very harmful, yeah, right? Not harmful to your image, or not harmful to your personality. Just don't say that you take too long to do something, or you have anger issues or something of that sort, because what he meant by being lazy was that he does 8 hours worth of work in 6 hours so that he doesn't have to work for 8 hours. So you get what he meant by lazy, right? It was actually it was just a like a trick question. So that was what went down with my managerial interview. There might be puzzles in your managerial interview. So what they're looking for there is, even if you take a lot of time, even if it's hard, even if you have not encountered the problem before, do not give up. Just go on with it. Take however much time you need, but just solve it and give it to them, right? They might require an alternate solution for that, but you just need to stick with the problem and give it your best. That's what they're looking for. Take your time and just solve it. uh, because that is one of the skills it requires. They are coming for the role of support engineer, as you might know or might not know. I don't know if I have said this, but they are coming for the role of support engineer, and what they're looking for is you can solve problems without giving up, right? And you need to have excellent communication skills. That's a must. So for that, that's something you require. Also, you can prep in between interviews because there are little gaps there, right? So you can do that. What else should I highlight? I guess you need to dress formally. That's sort of a given. Microsoft doesn't judge you for casual dressing, but I guess it looks nice if you are presentable and sharp. So that is something. And I guess that's all I have to say for now. Um,
Thank you, Ashika and Anjal. You've given the preliminary basics. Um, I think I should also stress here, and they can corroborate that you need to get very serious with your training that's going to start now. And as she has already said, the communication skills, that is very, very important. So you'll be having about three CAs, not CAC, CAC sessions, you have your regular CAC sessions. Apart from that, you'll be having uh, about three English classes per week. And I would strongly advise do not miss any of them. Okay. And you also have aptitude that you're having several times a week, and I find very few students joining. So I don't think that's going to help. I think Oshika and Anchal can say how much that is important in your first round. If you're aptitude in the very first round that you give, aptitude is terribly important. Could you say something on that,
yes,
either of you?
um, of course. First of all, do not miss grooming sessions. That is a given, and that is something you cannot do, right? You cannot miss grooming sessions. They help a lot, and also there are like teachers also teach cloud computing, and they will also cover
Yes.
those topics, right? Those are also very much a necessity, because in your technical interview, what they're looking for is that you can answer the question, all that you have covered in your resume. So let's say you have a very nice resume, and they have shortlisted your resume out of everybody else because it contains cloud computing, it contains a bit about web development, something about machine learning. They will expect you to know those subjects, right? So if you get a bit of knowledge on that beforehand, that will help a lot throughout the interview. That's, of course, that's there.
Yeah, I
And
think that is very important. I think that is very important that be honest in your CV. Do not put things there that you
you
know
don't
very
know.
little about or don't know anything about. Don't do that. We will have CV writing sessions. Don't worry, we'll have them. So attend all of the CV sessions. Get your CVs corrected, checked by either Padmini ma'am, Sneha ma'am, or Shubham sir. They'll be doing that. And try to be as authentic as possible. That is very important. And next is, uh, can you tell them about the core topics, like uh, like you said, cloud? Other than that, what are the core topics they should be focusing on that is already there in your syllabus? Yes,
Mostly, I think
Mhm.
they are going to question based on computer networks, which is one of the very important subjects which they need to touch on, because there will be lots of conceptual questions which they might, and they also, while answering, you need to be very much specific that what are the things you are speaking, because they will counter question you based on the things which you say. Let's say if they ask you about, let's say, an IP address. So okay, you are giving them the explanation or the definition about the IP address, but then they might ask you several inner the conceptual questions also based on the IP address, or maybe who assigns them or where they are stored, and such things like that. So DHCP, DNS, these are the most specific topics that they ask in the technical interview, I would say.
Anything else that Oshika would like to add? Any
Um,
other subtopic they should focus
yes,
on?
yes, ma'am. They will ask you a lot about computer networks and OS because that is one of the core things that they need. They might also ask you about coding and OOP and all those concepts, but let me give you a few examples of what they asked me in computer networks. They asked me about DHCP. You can take notes and just remember so that you can remember those, right? DORA, which is another method of assigning IP addresses. TCP/IP model, OSI model, that is a must. You have to know those. TCP versus UDP, ARP, RARP. What is an RJ45 cable? Ethernet, IP addressing. Check those things. Classful IP addressing, classless IP addressing, subnets, proxy servers, subnet masking, right? DNS, HTTP and HTTPS, the difference between all those two, right? So those things are there. In OS, I was asked only one question, which was the difference between physical memory and virtual memory. In case of OOP, I was asked about polymorphism, inheritance, abstract classes, interfaces, encapsulation, what a class is, and there might be coding puzzles. Like I was given, like you have to swap two numbers without using a third variable. So that sort of thing will be there. um, they will also ask you a question. Sorry, they will also ask you to ask questions, right? At the end of the interview, they might say, "Do you have any question for me?" So then you can like say something that is, that is that pertains to the job, and you you might want to know more about the job, about the role, about Microsoft in general, all those things. That that's what I'd like to add.
Anshul, would you like to go into any of the subtopics that you were asked or they should study?
Yeah, so my technical interview was basically focused on computer networks only. So also in the beginning, they asked me about many things which I mentioned in my CV, maybe let's say for some projects, or maybe my hobbies which I do. So also mainly the OSI model, then they asked me about the MAC address, IP address, DHCP, DNS, then the IP address, the private IP address, as well as the public IP address. Then let's say how DHCP works, then what is gateway, then the dynamic IP change. Also, they asked me one conceptual question, that was why google.com changes to mail.google.com after searching. And then also like how IP address is stored in the DNS, like basically the name of the record in which the IP address is stored in the DNS. Then some lots of conceptual questions they ask you, like can you manually give IP address to a system. Then let's say, can DHCP override static IP address? So they ask me about the static IP address, then the dynamic IP address. Then they also asked me about the VLAN, and then a PIPA, which is, so these are the things which they asked me. So basically, you have to know about every single thing, especially in the computer networks, because they are going to ask you a lot of questions from computer networks. So I personally, I feel that you should not leave any topic from computer networks, especially because you never know what kind of questions they might ask you. So it is very important to, you should know about the OSI model completely, the layers, the different layers which the OSI model has, their work, what each layer does. So basically, you need to touch every topic from computer networks, specially. And it also depends because in initially they ask you to, let's say, rate yourself in computer networks, or like for me they asked me to rate myself in computer networks and then oops or operating systems. So just rated myself in the computer network. So my interview was basically based on computer networks only. So yeah, these are the questions which I was asked.
So I think that the takeaway we get from here is that OS and CN are the two most important topics that all of you should start studying. You will also have training sessions and also cloud. I think you all, Shucharita ma'am had taken a number of Azure classes
Yes,
for your
ma'am.
batch. Yeah.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we'll have that as well. And I have asked all of you juniors to do at least a 2 month certification course. I think that becomes very important in the resume. You will be able to
Yes,
confirm.
ma'am.
Yes. So, do you have any
Yes.
suggestions for any short course if they already have not started? Anything that they can now do by, I think Microsoft will be coming around end April or May this time. Probably around end April. So they'll have to finish before that. So in case they have not started, if you have any suggestion of the kind of certification course that they can do from Coursera, they have one certificate course that they can do in the tie-up with TIU and Coursera. So if you have suggestions, you can give them.
These days, the in-demand skills are like for the cloud computing, which Microsoft looks for, or maybe let's say something on artificial intelligence or machine learning. But basically, they should focus on cloud courses if they want to. That obviously adds values to your CV. Yeah, that is one thing I could say.
You can check for the juniors. I'm saying this. You can check Coursera for the guided projects, right? If you have any guided projects on their on cloud computing, you can get into those because you can complete those very early. But they help a lot. That's a certificate, and you can, of course, as Aanchal said, cloud computing is very important, and that will help you. Is that sort of shortlists you out of the rest, and there are a number of courses. Search if any I don't really remember what Microsoft has on there, but if you can get into Microsoft Learn as well, and go through some of the docs. If you wish to, you can check that as well.
I would say that if you already have good projects to mention in your CV, then you all should focus on the subjects or the questions which they ask in the interview, because, of course, that those are the things which are the most valuable. So if you have good projects to write in your CV, then that is also okay.
So
Yeah.
the
But
first
courses do help.
yeah, the first criteria is actually based on your CV, because they will first shortlist you on the basis of your CV and your score, and your CGPA needs to be high enough. Of course, I think I don't
80. I think it's
really
eight,
remember, but
eight, eight, eight.
it's
8 plus. Yes, ma'am.
eight,
Yeah,
right?
they
So
don't
you
go,
need to have,
you go 75, below 75, they don't go.
yeah, so that needs to be there, and then your CV needs to be good as well. So for a stellar CV, of course, you need to have those in-demand skills, and for that, you need to go for cloud computing courses or something on machine learning, something in association with Microsoft. If you've done that, is brilliant. So yeah, those are the things.
But please do
So
not
now I
mention
think,
anything. Please do not mention anything which you do not mean in your CV, because that, of
Absolutely.
course, they will understand. If you write anything which you do not mean and you are just writing for the sake of writing, they are obviously going to understand it. That looks negative. So please do not do that. If you're 100% sure about something, then only write, because you do not know in which interview they might ask you a question from your CV. So it might happen that in each of the interviews they might ask you some questions from your CV, maybe from some sections they might pick up any important thing or any topic and they ask you. So do not write anything which you do not mean in your CV, because that is a very important thing, I would say.
yeah, so now I think we can start the questions. So would you all feel comfortable if they wrote it down in the chat box and you answered? or would you
Yes,
feel
ma'am.
comfortable
Ma'am,
if
Anything.
either
they
way,
that
chat
Anything
or
is fine.
either way?
unmuting themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So y'all can post your questions in the chat, in the chat box that's there, and you can also unmute yourself one by one and ask them if you have doubts.
Hello, Dee. Good afternoon.
Good
I'm
afternoon.
Rajrupa from CAC department. I had a question. Does Microsoft only focus on computer networks and cloud computing, or they focus on other topics as well?
See, it also depends on the interviewer, I would have to say. Mostly they focus on computer networks, OS, or yeah, so these are the things, but it also depends. Maybe they might also ask you that what are the topics that you like, so that they can ask follow-up questions from there also.
Okay.
So it depends on also how you answer to them.
Okay,
In
so
the because in the beginning they asked me also. I think they also asked Oishika about what she is comfortable with. So yeah, so there will be follow-up questions from there.
but we can take it as this, like Microsoft mainly focus on computer networks and cloud computing, others as well, according to it.
Yeah, because they come for the role of support engineer in our college. So
Okay, okay.
basically, yes, they focus on this. Yeah.
Also,
Okay, thank you.
Achal, I'm just interrupting. I'm sorry. Rajrupa, also, OS is necessary, like operating systems, right? That
Yes.
also is, you have to brush up on those
Yes, actually,
concepts
this
as
semester we just completed an operating system. Computer network
well. Yes.
is in our next semester, so we had these questions. And
And
there was one more question from my side. I will end it then. Does is internship important? Like, if anyone hasn't done any kind of internships, will it affect?
okay, all right. So that is sort of also Deboshmita's query in the chat box. The chat box is blowing up. I'm sorry. But I cannot, I was not able to answer all those. However, internships, yeah, internships are not really necessary, but they help. Of course, they will help. If you have had some, if you have brushed up on some skills due to an internship, let's say, if you have got into an internship and then it helped you in some way, that's what they need to hear. That you got into an internship and you learned something. That's what you have to highlight, right? You learn some skills, or maybe you learned like communication skills or business skills or something of that sort. You took away something from that internship. That's what they are looking to hear, not that you have a lot of internships in your bag, right? So that's what it is. To answer Manan's
Thank
question,
you.
yeah, thanks a lot. No problem. Uh, what kind of questions did they ask from machine learning? Okay, so they asked me about the difference between multi-label and multi-level classifier. I remember that. Um, they asked what my course was all about. It was a course, and I had to do a bit of. It was also with a, it came with a project, so I did that project as well. So they asked me what that project was all about in machine learning, and what concepts I used, what libraries I had to use, those kind of things.
Also, if
And
you mention machine learning, probably in your CV, maybe let's say if you have done any project or any course, then only I think they touch on that topics. Otherwise, I don't think they ask separate kind of
yeah.
questions from machine learning. So if you have mentioned it in your CV, let's say you have done a
Mm.
project using machine learning, or maybe a course you have done, so they might ask you questions then from machine learning, especially, I would say.
Okay,
We do not
so
have any coding rounds in particular for Microsoft. Somebody asked it in the chat box. So no, we do not have any coding round in particular. They might ask you in your technical interview, but that is not important, I would say.
Hello, I would like to ask you a question as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, did you have any internship while you were appearing for the interview? That is my question to you, to both of you, I'll say.
Not any specific, because I had one internship which was not related to this field, basically to this software field. So it was not, I don't think so. So it's not really important to have an internship. But yes, if you have one, it looks good. So either thing you can write, maybe an internship or a project which looks good. So I think that is okay. So does not
and
really.
and also, is only the support role engineer that you talked about is what they are specifically coming for, or an SD also?
They don't. I don't think they came for an STE role. Maybe afterwards they came. I don't really remember, but
No,
ours
it
was
was
for
support
the
engineer.
support engineer
Yeah,
role.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
support
Yeah,
engineer.
on campus it was support engineer for
yeah,
on
right.
campus. You can apply it off campus if you want to for STE, but in our
Hmm.
college they come for the support engineer role.
Yeah. About the questions in the chat box, yeah. Sabyasachi, you asked what kind of behavioral questions they asked. Just the basic, whatever is, I think your, whatever the people, whatever the teachers cover in the grooming sessions, about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your hobbies? And why do you choose Microsoft? Where do you see yourself down the line, after 5 years or 10 years? Like, what are your short and long term goals? Those kind of things, right? So those are the behavioral questions. Maybe about somebody you admire. What do you admire in them, and why do you do so? Um, your qualities, all those things. Um,
Also, some of them have asked about DSA in the chat box. So for the DSA, don't they really don't ask any particular questions from DSA? But as Oishika said, that they might ask you questions from OOPS as such, but no, not particular questions from DSA, especially for the support engineer role. So they don't ask questions from DSA as such.
like, they won't ask you right and left about DSA or DA. If you mention that I'm comfortable in DSA and DA, and I would like to answer questions on that topic, then of course, because they will, at a point they will ask you what are you comfortable with, and what should we ask you,
Also,
right?
let's say if you mention in your CV that the topics which you like, so if you have mentioned in your CV that you like DSA as a subject, then they might ask you questions from DSA, but as such they don't ask much questions from DSA.
Cut-off marks for 10th and 12th boards. I think you'll have to confirm this with ma'am, and because I don't really remember
Yeah,
what was there.
they don't specify, but what we have generally seen, it's
Mhm.
8 and above, and they do not positively they do not take if it's below 75.
All right.
So it's if you're 8 and above, you're safe. But maybe if everything else is very good in the rest of your CV, they might go with below 8, but not below 75.
Excuse me, I have one question.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead.
that is, I want to thoroughly understand this post of a support engineer. I mean, I have searched about it, but I still want to get an idea that what is actually day-to-day, uh, obligations of a support engineer.
See, as such, we have our internship has not been started till now. So actually, we also do not know it intern completely. But what we have learned is that basically the work of a developer is to basically to develop something, to develop an app, let's say, and the role of a support engineer is to provide support for that application, let's say, to an organization, or to help the customers understand about that software which the developer has developed.
So
Oishika, if you would like to.
basically, yeah. So basically, it's as much as I have learned from my seniors, it's that basically you'll have other organizations that use Microsoft's products. For example, they use Azure or something else. So they will come to you as a support, as because you are a support engineer, and they will maybe call you up or mail you saying they have a problem in the particular Microsoft product, and you have to solve those problems, because basically you are the tech support, right? But it's not tech support for like any random person. It will be for an organization. of course. So that's what you need to do. And as much as I got to know from my interview with one of the directors, she told me it's like um, there will be people who give you those problems about that have been happening in Microsoft's products. You need to check logs, you need to check the documentation and everything, and provide sort of a game plan, a strategy for how to, tackle those problems, right? So it might take a long time, but the thing is that you cannot give up, and you will solve the problem, and then you'll move on to the next.
Okay,
That's what
so
she told.
it's like the solving, the compatibility issues among the organizations. So
Yes,
we are like,
providing the support, providing support. That's it.
I
That
so
think
we are
is.
acting like a bridge.
Shahil, I think you'll get a better idea. You'll have another session with your super senior, Irina, who was their senior, Anchal and Oishika senior. So Irina is already working. There will be a session with her. So I think she would be able to answer this part of the question in greater detail.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody asked how many projects did you mention in your CV? So I wrote just one project which I did. So mention only that project which you are most comfortable with. Even if you have one, you should write one only. Don't just for the sake of writing, don't just write two or three projects, and when they ask you questions, you are not able to answer that. So my for me, I wrote just one project which was from Python. So it was based on machine learning, so that was just one project which I mentioned. And what about you, Ishika?
Yeah, I mentioned two projects in my CV. I remember one was much akin to Anchal's. It was about machine learning, on machine learning in Python, and it was based on data visualization and something on classification, as much as I can remember. So those things will, of course, they help. And I The second project that I mentioned was on web development. It was a part of our curriculum, part of our syllabus. So I had mentioned those, and the topic was the first I mentioned, yeah, it was on machine learning. And for this web development based project, it was on designing a website for a hostel. I remember I did that. So it was using the front end, and back end was the front end was based on HTML and CSS, and the back end was based on I think Java we used. So yeah, that was it.
From the project, for me, they asked the question like, what was my role in the project, and to describe what my project does, and also maybe like how a layman can use that project. So that was the questions which they asked from me for the project. Is internship necessary or projects will do? Um, for us, we
Just
go,
any of those here, right?
yeah, any of those. Until unless you are comfortable, any of those will do. Just be.
Uh, Hello, Dean. I am Sabyasachi Sarkar from CSC 30.
Mhm.
I would like to know that in which year did you clear this Microsoft? In which year did you clear it?
In the seventh semester when we were.
Means at that point you were like in the
Between
fourth year.
sixth and seventh semester, probably, right?
Yeah. At the
Second
end of
semester,
sixth,
August.
yeah, you
Yeah.
all had it in August. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So at that point of time you already means in your course in the curriculum you had a CN part, right? At that
Yeah,
point of time.
yes,
Yes,
of
Okay.
course.
we
We
had.
had
Uh,
covered CN and OS both. So,
Okay, okay, thank you. And one more thing, like I would like to ask that
mhm.
what was the motivation for going for a support engineer in Microsoft? And also, I'd like to know that currently working for like a few of the times that you have been working, like how was the experience and how is the work culture in the Microsoft?
Okay, Sabyasachi, the thing is, we haven't started working yet. So I think Erina Karati, if she has a
Yeah.
session with you,
Irina,
will
and
be
there will
able
be
to.
Pooja as
Yeah,
well. Both Pooja and Irina will be able to say better.
Uh,
yeah.
okay, okay, no issue. But can you please let me know like what was the motivation for going for a support engineer in Microsoft?
For me, it was basically I like solving problems. That's the first thing, and it's basically about helping people at the end of the day, because they will come to you with their problems. They will be in distress, and you have to sort of help them out with your knowledge. So, and what I have learned about this role is that you can get to learn a lot. So that's what attracted me.
Uh, I I'm basically having a counter question on this. Like you said, like you like problem solving. So like
Mhm.
I hope you were also belonging to a CS department. So basically, if we see in CS department, most of all must aspire for a being a developer. So since
Yeah.
you love programming or problem solving part, so why didn't you go for a software development and only for this support engineer? Because software development has much higher scope, and you also said that you like problem solving. So why not software developer and why support engineer?
See, yeah, of course, I am open to STE roles as well. However, yeah, I think I am more attracted to this because coding, yeah, I like coding at the end of the day. However, I think this is also another, new technology that I get to play with, that is cloud, and it's exciting in a way because it's not hedging me in with a programming language. It's a bit more, on the newer side of tech. So
Also,
that's
later
what
on, when you make good connections, you can switch between roles. So that is not a big problem, that why
yeah.
only support and not that. Also, it depends that if you are more interested in coding, then you can also apply for the software engineer role. It
Mhm.
depends on you. It's basically one's own choice. When you get the job description, you read it, and then you can decide what you want to do. Microsoft is also a big organization, so being a part of it is
Yeah,
we feel very,
yeah.
yeah.
Can,
So
can we
that
can
is
we
one
put it
thing.
can we put it more bluntly? Microsoft is one of the first companies that come when you just get into your seventh semester.
Yeah.
In your case, that will be sixth semester, and that it's a huge organization, and they just got swept up in that. They were the first ones to get a job from their batch, and I would think it is very foolish if you let go of that opportunity. Would that put things in perspective?
Yeah, ma'am, I would like to add
This is
that
one.
actually beginning with something is enough. I mean, you have to have something to start on. And even though it is supporting general role, but the organization that you are working in as Microsoft, it's going to be a bit challenging because there will be, I mean, the requirements or the level are going to be higher than any other normal organization. And finally, I want to add a point. Okay, just my personal feeling, like Oshigati, you look very cute. I mean, you are gonna make a
Um,
Oh
good,
my God.
Thank you.
you are gonna make a good software support engineer. I just feel like that.
Uh, all right.
Okay, now Oshika is blushing from all the compliments, but
Yeah.
anyway, she deserves to be said.
Thank
She
you
is
this for
wonderful.
the answering the question. Thank you.
Hmm.
Somebody asked about the GD session, the topic which we were asked. So in my GD session, my topic was online or virtual class, pros and challenges. This was my topic during
Same
the
for
GD
me.
session. Yeah. There were
So
different topics also, but for us, it was
yeah.
about the online classes.
I remember one of our seniors, just a moment, Rajrupa, told us that they had a topic which was is AI a boon or a bane, right? So that was one of the topics. Yeah.
Thank you,
So,
Didi. Actually, I was going to ask that only, that people like the people who are conducting this GD sessions, that they will be asking the topics only on the like normal question based, like situation scenario based, or it will be also from our like field like AI or machine learning or something like that.
It can be anything, I would say.
It
It
won't be
depends.
too technical, I would say. It
Okay.
is mostly general. You can figure things out. That's what I'm trying to say. And they will give you time, right? When once you start the GD session, they will ask you. You can keep a piece of paper and a pen. They will give you some time for research. You can get on the internet and jot down your points. Don't look at the points always, but take help from them. And another thing that you need to do during the GD is remember who is saying what. If let's say Rajrupa said something, you just write Rajrupa and then write what point she has made, so that you can afterwards, when the second round of sort of rebuttal or adding points comes in, you can just say that my friend Rajrupa said this and I would like to agree or disagree. Just mention others' names so that it comes for that you are a good listener and you pay attention to people. That's what I would like to add.
Okay. Thank you, Di. Thank you so much.
so in that
No
Um,
GD,
problem.
we can only say ki I'm agreeing to the point and I'm disagreeing to the point. Like you cannot say ki okay, whatever you said was just wrong or something like. Matlab, I cannot go on a full debate or something. Just normal. Uh,
Um, it's a GD first of all, so it's not really a debate, and it helps if you are polite and collected and calm.
See, if you can
So
politely say that you are disagreeing to a point, then that is okay. But don't just start a debate that you are, that turns into a fight. So if
okay. Actually, what happened last semester when we were having our CSD classes and some of the GD, we felt like it was going into some kind of heated argument topics. So this year, our semester has not started yet, so we don't know actually what is being taught or what to be done. So that was
see,
my question.
that happens. It might turn into a heated argument, but then you have to understand that you should not enter in that heated argument. Okay, just be polite and wait for that argument to stop, because then the interviewers might interrupt and they might also say that. So don't just enter into that heated argument. Wait
Sure,
for
sure.
that argument to stop and then politely put forward your point.
Okay.
That is what I
Thank
can
you.
say.
or
Yeah.
just if you feel like the argument is driving the discussion to some other place, just bring it back to the point, right? That will earn you some more points, I guess. If they are digressing or something, just bring them back to the topic.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was having one more question that in the GD session, the
Mhm.
people who were having GD, so were from the same batch or they were from the different batches, like on the
They are
different
from different colleges, right?
okay, different
So
colleges.
yeah, it will be from Techno International Newtown, and you and maybe somebody else from some other college. It will be a mixed bag of students, right? So you won't know
Yes.
them maybe. Yeah.
Okay, and approximately how many students were there in GD normal?
Um, 8 to 9, I'd say.
About.
Okay,
About 8 to 9.
thank you, thank you.
Anindita has written that so in the interview session, they basically start to ask questions from that core topic which is specified in the CV. Is it? No, it actually is not like that. That the core topic which you mentioned, they'll only ask questions from. They might touch on that topic, but they will ask questions which they want to. It's not just always they are 100% questions are from your CV. It is not the thing. They might touch on that topics which you have written in your CV. It also depends it whether you want to write the topics or not. So it's totally on you, because anyway they will ask questions that they want to. So it is not that always.
Mm.
Somebody asked about coding. So we have already said that coding is not a very important part in this interview. So yeah.
And
Um,
the in the round in the first round, did you had any like aptitude some test something like that, or only GD?
Ours started with a GD. We didn't had any aptitude test as such.
Okay, thank you.
I think
Um,
coding will become very important if you're sitting for TCS Digital. That will also happen soon after.
yeah.
And if you are TCS Digital, you'll be able to appear twice. Once by the end of your third year, and again once in your fourth year. And their coding becomes very important. So keep that in mind.
Miss,
Sh-
ma'am, can I just ask you a question related to that? As you said,
Yeah.
TCS Digital comes twice. So my
Mm,
question was, in my batch, many are asking,
mm.
is there any other chance for Microsoft or only one
No,
chance
no.
for Microsoft?
Microsoft comes just once. And for TCS Digital, like the first time, you can directly sit for the digital, but that number is very limited. And after that, the next time round in your fourth year, you'll be able to sit for TCS Ninja. And if you do very well, then you're automatically eligible for the TCS Digital, that is the TCS Toppers
Okay,
exam that
ma'am,
you have to give. So you have to sit for, yeah.
as you said, this Microsoft placement will take at the end of April or May, since our
Mm-hmm.
semester has not started yet and computer
Mm-hmm.
network is in our next semester.
Mm.
So, will that be an effect on that? Because even if our
No,
semester
because
starts by
you,
March, we
no, no,
will
you
just
will,
have 1.5 months to prepare for it.
you will, you will have very intensive sessions for that. Like Oishika and Anshul will tell you last time when during their before their placements, they had like regular classes on CN Cloud, DBMS, OS. You'll be having classes every day of the week. This time it will be a little difficult. Theirs it was easier because everything was online, so we could start classes early in the morning from 9. So this time it will be slightly difficult because since it will be blended mode this time round, the faculties will be coming to college. There'll be offline classes. So we'll have to work that part a little bit. Be prepared to do classes late in the evening or early in the morning as well, and attend them. We'll try to accommodate as many classes as possible so that you do not miss on any part that you need to know. Okay.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
But the class timings will be a little off beat, and because we'll have to incorporate this thing into this whole blended system. But the course will be covered, so don't worry. If you're doing the classes, everything will be covered.
Okay, ma'am.
And ma'am, I was having one more question that this time, do you have any idea like will Microsoft be taking this all these interview sessions on offline or online?
I cannot really.
No, but I think
Uh,
yes.
yes, ma'am. Sorry.
I think, yeah, I think it might still be online. I don't know if some of the rounds will be offline, the HR or anything can be offline, but I think the primary rounds might just be online.
Okay, okay, thank you, ma'am.
Oshika,
I mean, the internships are completely virtual, so perhaps they will opt for, I don't know, they might opt for online mode.
Shrim has asked about the job roles. I'd like to say that it also depends. The actual job roles which we will be offered are our internships. After our internships, so first we will be having our internships, and the topics in which we excel, or they will only assign us our job roles. So the specific job roles we are not offered as of now. So it's just support engineer that we know.
Yeah, no specific,
yeah, I
job
think
roles
you
as
could,
such.
I think you would ask these questions to your super seniors when you have the sessions with them, because this is the part since they are already working in the company. Like Irina is working for a year and Pooja is working for 3 years now, I think. So I think they would be able to give you a better idea about this part.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, and one more question. Have you guys done any other courses except for AI and ML?
I had done a
I
course
have not
on
done.
web development. That's just it, nothing more. And
Okay.
NPTEL courses, of course, you also might have done in your like earlier years, right?
First
Yes.
semester, second semesters, we have
Yeah.
done some NPTEL courses. Yeah.
There are questions from Arpita and Devi Rupa. How did you handle questions that you didn't know, or was there yeah, there were certain questions where I got stuck. I remember I think I messed up something in IP addressing in the while they will ask you a lot of follow up questions. I think I messed up something there, or I got stuck something somewhere there. So what you can do is just be honest and tell them that you don't know that, and just tell what you like. Say what you know, and then if you cannot elaborate more, just stop there and say, I will need to expand my knowledge more on this, and then I'll get back to you later. Yeah, and then look it up later. Yeah, certified or self-learned from books. I think yeah, if you have a skill, a certificate is good, but at the end of the day, yeah, your skill matters. So if you can answer questions on that topic, you're gold. That's it.
Yeah, basically the communication skills are the most important, we would say.
Hmm.
How well you
Also,
can answer a question. Yeah.
yeah, I think something that really helped me was when I got stuck on one topic, I would, ask I would, say that I can make a guess on this, right? And for the name, I think it means this. So let's say if there was some technology called reverse ARP, I could say that I know that ARP is this, so maybe reverse ARP is this. So yeah, sort of you can make an educated guess. courses from NPTEL, they are not mandatory. You
Not
can go with
mandatory at all.
yeah, you can go with any
Yeah.
course you like and just yeah. You'll need the knowledge. That's what's important.
That may be for your college or maybe for the semesters, but not for any companies. I don't think they are mandatory, like courses from NPTEL or Coursera. They might help you in your longer run, but not for any companies. They are not necessary or mandatory courses.
Okay, I was
Any other
searching for
questions?
questions, and somebody, I think, in the very beginning, they asked, what can be a good answer for what is your weakness? If if I share my weakness with you, it was, I think it was that I tend to take a lot on my plate, um, more more than I can handle. I tend to take a lot of courses, and I see something and I'll just go for it without like understanding that I might need to put in extra hours of work for that, and at the end I get overworked, I get tired. Yeah, that was my weakness that I said. So
For the aptitude part, the teachers are going to inform you the most asked topics in the aptitude, because we didn't have any for Microsoft as such. So for the aptitude part, the topics, the teachers, they will tell you in the grooming sessions. So yeah, duration of the internship is for 3 months. The duration.
Um, uh, breadth first or depth first? That's a good question. I think it's depth first. So they will just ask you about what's in on your resume, and they will just go into the depths of. And once you start getting stuck on those topics, they will move on to the next. They will ask you what you're comfortable with, and that's where you need to sort of advertise, your skills. I know about this. You can ask me about OOP. I know a bit about this. Let's say computer networks. I know a bit about OS, and yeah,
Yes, but then there
Uh,
will be lots of conceptual questions.
Hello, Dee.
yeah.
Uh, I'm Akash
I,
from 3A, and I have a question for the same that you people are getting internships for 3 months, and in case, I'm just telling in case you don't secure a full-time offer, in case, may that never happen, and will the university allow you to sit for other companies? Because I have heard that once you get an internship, you are blocked from other companies to sit for other companies.
I think ma'am can answer that.
yeah, can clarify that best.
Or maybe our seniors as such. So we don't have
Yeah,
that much information.
generally that doesn't happen when you've got an offer. I haven't heard this happening unless you totally do something which will make the company kick you out. I hope you don't do that. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
Okay, ma'am. I
No,
got my
actually,
answer.
ma'am,
That's
we
what I gathered from Erina D as
no,
well.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Actually, we
she
heard
said that
from
if you
seniors
don't.
that
Hmm.
once you get an offer from on campusing, you get blocked by other campus as well. So
Yeah, you do get blocked.
Yeah,
That is
that
very true.
happens. That happens.
That happens, yeah. Once you sit for this and then you get an offer for the internship, you won't be allowed to sit for anything else.
And
That
I
is
have
very
another question, and that is,
true.
I have heard from the seniors that Techno uses some kind of algorithm to shortlist the students, which is still unknown to many of the students.
That depends on the company, the shortlisting part, I would say. It's
Yeah,
not only on the
Techno
college
Techno
itself.
is not shortlisting anybody, darling.
exactly.
Actually, the seniors
The
told me that about that,
no, the
that the
seniors can
algorithm
tell
is
you.
unknown.
Don't indulge in conspiracy theories.
No, but
Yeah.
I can assure you from my side, Techno is not shortlisting people here. All your data is directly sent to the company, and the shortlisting is done by the company. Yes, sometimes even we fail to figure out how they have done it. That is where the conspiracy theory comes. And we would also like to know. Like even when their batch's Microsoft shortlist came, I had also hoped a number of other students would get through to the next round, but they did not. And we tried to find out from the company like how what are the criteria, but they don't disclose. So there's no conspiracy going on from this end. That much I can assure you. Although I am not the placement cell.
Okay, ma'am, I got it.
Some good projects to focus on. Just you can search on GitHub, I guess, and then of course you can do courses, and from there, if you can get an idea, build something of your own. Maybe if you are into web development, build a website. If like go on Kaggle maybe to get on machine learning projects. So yeah, those are the things you need to check out.
Hello, Dee. I have a question. I don't know if you are allowed to disclose this or not, but what is the stipend for internship? And if the job is offered, what is the CTC?
You will get that in your job description, we would say. I don't know if we are
Yes,
allowed to
yes.
disclose. So
And
yes, when
no, no, just keep that to yourself. And if I can tell you this much, if you get through this Microsoft placement, you should consider yourself very lucky. Very few people get through. Like in their batch, only 11 people got shortlisted to go to the next round amongst the entire batch. So chances of you getting and not wanting to take it up, that will not really happen.
Okay, is this the highest package offered on campus?
No, 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 no.
Okay, okay.
The number of languages doesn't, I don't think it really matters. Just you need to, because I remember when my interviewer gave me a coding problem, she didn't mention any language. She just said you can go on with the algorithm. So it's not necessary to learn multiple languages. Just take up a language that you're comfortable in, and just go through the concepts that are behind the programming, and the algorithm is much more important. OP functionalities are much more important than learning languages, right? So that's there.
even when you have the coding round for other companies, they will give you options to choose a language.
There will be a
So
choice, yeah.
yeah, there will be a choice. So it's not necessary to learn multiple languages.
Absolutely.
Hello, I have a question, Gail. So, as you said, you were stuck
Yes.
on one of the questions, right? So, I've heard
Yes.
that interviewers do give some hints. So, were you given any?
Now I do not remember 100% of my interview. However, I think, yeah, I think they gave a bit of a hint here and there, and I just don't remember this part. That's the thing. And but you have to, go on guessing. You can make an educated guess. These are some of the options you can do. You can, yeah, they will, I think, prod you for so
Yeah,
that you
they will
can,
try to help.
yeah.
Even in my case, they tried to help me. So yeah,
Mhm.
they might give you a hint.
So, it actually depends upon interviewer to interviewer, right? And what their mood
Yes,
is
yes, of
right
course,
then.
of course.
So,
But
That
at the
is,
end of the day, they will try to help you, get through, because they want to hire someone, and they will help you in certain
but
bits.
some
see
If
of
the
you are
them are like
off
interviewers.
really
somewhere,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, but the interviewers were very friendly. So that is one thing. So yeah.
they will make sure you're comfortable. Yeah. Someone said open
Hello,
source
Di.
was, yeah. Continue. Yeah.
Do they prefer girls more over the boys? Kind of like Intuit follows, like they like take girl candidates more with the
Nothing
priority.
as such. Nothing as
No,
No,
such.
no,
No,
Microsoft is
Nothing
I've
very
as
also
such.
heard
inclusive.
that Microsoft is
Yeah.
biased somewhat. I've also
Uh,
heard this.
for this kind of
Just
roles,
heard.
like
It's
support
not
engineer and
confirmed.
all, just like
can,
Intuit
can
and
I
all,
can
they
I put
prefer
in
girl
my two
candidates
cents
more.
here? Can I put in my 2 cents here? In their batch, I can assure you of all the students who were shortlisted, I can completely assure you these two came across as the most articulate, most well-spoken, most even-tempered, and very, very, very honest. And I think those are factors that go into it. Other than the technical knowledge, of course, that is a given. And other than that, the two of them, if you must have already noticed it by now, both of them are they have qualities which are obviously the reasons they got selected. It isn't to do anything with being a guy or a girl, but although the point is that the last few students who got hired are all women, but that's just probably because they have displayed better skills. So
But
maybe you
at the
should.
end of the day, it is
We too
biased,
have
right?
better skills.
No, it
Um,
is not biased.
How is it
It is
It is
biased?
absolutely
indeed.
not
It is
biased.
indeed. I
yeah,
will say.
if I can jump in here and say that out of the 11 students who got selected out of all the colleges under Techno India group, there are a lot of guys in there. Okay, so
Exactly.
it's not biased at all. We
And
can
I think
assure
this
you
is
of
the
that.
mindset you need to come out of,
Yeah.
So,
that
ma'am,
if
we have heard that
girls
somewhat.
are
I'm
getting
not
selected.
telling completely, but somewhat, somewhat, just a
No,
slight
it's not.
percentage.
Absolutely,
Uh,
That is what I'm saying.
absolutely not. Because this is something you need to drive into your head. Because I've personally spoken to all of these kids who got through the selection, all 11 of them, and trust me, nobody deserved it more than these two.
Actually, I was
So
not
I
talking
think that
about being biased. Like for Amazon, they have a particular program like Amazon Wow for the girls. I was talking about that
so
only.
that is
I
different.
was not
No, no,
talking
that
about
is
being
different.
biased.
If they are specifically recruiting women for a job role, that
I was
there are
telling
specific
about that
roles that
only.
include there are specific roles which ask for only guys. So
Don't misjudge me
that
with
is entire.
Ashutosh.
No, no, that is different entirely. But where you do not have, it's not a male candidate or a female candidate thing. I think this is one of the first things you need to get out of your head for whatever reason you got that into. You need to get that out of your head. I mean, it's very easy to fall into the rut that if guys are getting selected, it's because they are worth it. And if girls are getting selected, there's a bias. That is a mindset, my dear, you need to get out of.
Um,
Uh, I have actually a technical question. I mean, regarding covering the syllabus, because since I was actually working in some internships and some personal projects, so due to that, unfortunately, some topics are there like operating systems and computer networks. I'm weak in that, so I want to know that how can I, pace up with that. I mean, learn that so that I'm ready for the interview.
what helped me was I attended the grooming sessions and I also researched a lot on the net. If you have any NPTEL courses, you can take those for free and you can just not register for the exam and just go through the material there. You can also find them just online. You just search a lot online, right?
Actually,
There,
YouTube will work. Like, I mean, I find
anything
really
works.
okay.
Anything works. Just
Yes, YouTube helps a lot.
yeah,
I would say YouTube helps a lot.
it
Yeah,
does.
thank you
So
very much.
just yeah,
Yeah.
search on the net and but topic wise, just go topic wise. Get a topic, search it on the net, and then just write down everything that you have, piece of information that you have got from there. Right? That will
You also
help.
need to, yeah, and you also need to focus on the grooming sessions that our college conducts. So that helps, that again helps us a lot.
And also, I think after the company shortlists you guys, and from our batch, I think 11 people got shortlisted, right, Anchal?
Yes,
11, 10 or
yes.
11 people.
11, 11,
Yeah,
11, 11.
11.
11 people, yeah. So for them, different grooming sessions are conducted for them as well at the end of, just before the hiring process of Microsoft starts. So you should also, do those. You cannot miss those as well because that helped me a lot because that's sort of the dress rehearsal that you cannot skip that. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Basically, communication skills plays a very important role in any interview. Until and unless you are able to defend yourself when they counter question you, that's very important. You should not get stuck mostly. Yeah.
I was like to ask, like currently you are doing the internship. So how is the workload in the working?
Our internships has not
Haven't
commenced.
started yet.
That is going to start from April.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Di. Apart
Yeah.
from cloud computing and the thing you told, like machine learning, what they
Mhm.
mostly focus on the candidates, like apart from the core subjects, which kind of domains they look for, apart from cloud computing and machine learning?
They do prefer cloud computing and machine learning. However, it helps if you just acquire knowledge on these, upcoming technologies, or the skills in demand. For example, web development, Android. Somebody wrote Android. I'm sorry, I just said Android because of that. But it helps nevertheless. If you can learn some skills, it helps. Web
So,
development helps.
do
Mobile
they
development.
deep dive into cloud computing? Like, I do have some fundamental knowledges, but do they dive like deep into the topic?
If you have that topic on your resume, they are going to dive in deep. Okay. Because if you say that I have done a project on this or I have done a course on this, they will want to know what you have done or how
No,
much you
if
have
we
learned,
just have
right?
a project mentioned there, like we have done a project from Coursera on cloud computing, so are they gonna deep dive into the topic?
Yeah, of
They
course. I
might
mean,
ask you questions
mhm.
about topics, but dive deep, I don't think so they will do
I
that.
mean, what they did in my case was they asked me about my project, and they also asked a few questions on the concepts. Like I said, they asked me. I remember this question very vividly. The difference between multi-level and multi-label class, right? So those kind of that's something from inside classification in machine learning. So expect questions like that if you have mentioned a project, and they will expect you to know what you have done in the project and why you are doing it or how you are doing it, right?
Also, if you tell about any algorithms that you have used, then they might ask you some questions from that algorithms. Like, let's suppose you have written k-means clustering algorithm or KNN algorithm. So, if you do mention any algorithms that you have used in your project, then they might ask you some questions in depth also. That is a high chance.
Somebody said, is doing projects in one domain preferred, or you can have projects from multiple domains. It's not it's not a hard and
Nothing
fast
is
rule.
mandatory, or any topic is not mandatory, so you can do whatever you feel comfortable in. And the way you explain yourself or explain your project in the interviews, that is the most important thing. That means they should be basically satisfied with your explanation. Yeah, that is one thing. My project was music genre classification in Python, which I did. So that was one of the projects that I mentioned in my CV. Yes,
Yeah, and
I
for
did that in the third year. Mhm.
I'm sorry, my mic got disconnected for a second. Anchal, you were talking about your project, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. As for me, I mentioned that just a few minutes ago, but it was on machine. The first one was on machine learning. I had done two projects, and the second one was on web development. It was basically building a website for a hostel. Uh, yeah, that was it.
But yes, they will ask you questions from the projects that you mentioned. So do not mention any project which you are not comfortable with, or maybe you have not done anything your friends have done and you are writing it in your CV. That won't help. That is one thing.
Thank you, Mainak. And yeah, regarding algorithms and they might ask you, like you have to be prepared. I did not really say that DSA was my strongest suit in the interview, but yeah, they might ask you if you say that you are comfortable with answering questions on DSA or on DA. They might ask you to solve them on paper, or they might ask you to open up Notepad and just write in it. Yeah.
Do they ask SQL queries?
Yes, they might ask.
They
SQL
might.
is also very important. So
One
yes,
of
they might
my
ask.
friends said they asked a bit on SQL and some queries, I think.
DBMS is also one of that important subject which you need to focus on, because you do not know when or what questions they might ask. So you have to be prepared with DBMS as well.
Yeah, DBMS is something, yeah, if you are comfortable with DBMS, you can also go for DBMS. That is also one of the in demand, like what they look for. So, yeah.
So they will ask us first, like where you are comfortable with.
See, in my case, they asked me to rate myself in computer networks, OOPS, and then OS. They asked me to rate myself. So I started with, I rated myself only in computer networks, and he started asking me questions from computer networks. So that also depends on the interviewer, what they want to look for in you. So that is one thing. They might also ask you questions from DBMS, because that is also a very important thing. So it also depends on the interviewer.
However, I will just add that computer networks is a very important subject, right? You cannot skip that, and you just have to go through all of it. And in my case, what my interviewer did was she asked me a bit about what I had done in my course, and a bit of about what was in my resume. Basically, I had written about ML and web development, so she asked me about ML, and then she got into these. She asked me what I was comfortable with. I said I was comfortable with CN, and she started asking me questions about CN. Yeah.
Also, one very important thing which I would like to add on is that you need to research about Microsoft itself, because they will ask you questions like why Microsoft, or what are the things which you like about Microsoft, or something like that. Or maybe you, when you get the job description, you need to thoroughly read that job description as well, because they asked, especially he asked me also in my managerial interview. He asked me like what actually is the role that you are offered for, or what is the role. And then in my technical interview, he asked me about why Microsoft. And again, in one of the HR interviews, they asked me like what is that one thing you like about Microsoft. So you need to also do research about the company itself. You need to know its background details, as well as what they are doing right now, or things like that. So you need to, first of all, you need to read the job description very thoroughly, because that is one thing they surely they are going to ask you in your interviews about the job role especially. So you also need to do a bit research about the company itself, about the customer support role or the support engineer role that they will be coming for. So basically, researching about the company itself is very important.
I would like to ask that like on this question, like why Microsoft, and tell me one reason for which you're choosing Microsoft. So, what kind of possible answer? Can you, if you please let us know that what kind of possible answer for this?
First of all, you also need to check Microsoft's page and what they stand for. Read and sort of memorize Microsoft's mission statement, right? And then align your interests with theirs, right? Why Microsoft? I don't remember them asking this question to me, but if they ask you this, you can always say that, yeah, Microsoft is an organization that wants to empower every person on and every organization on earth to achieve more and achieve better. And that's what I would like to do. I would like to solve problems. I would like to solve real world problems, you can say. And Microsoft will provide me I hope Microsoft provides me a platform with that. Yeah, can go along the
These
lines of that.
in this count, there can be like a lot of counter questions, like as you said, like for better opportunities. So they might ask question that there are even more opportunities. Or why do you need to only get into Microsoft? So how to tackle these questions in that regard?
um Now, I wasn't really asked this question, and I think, I mean, in your grooming sessions, you'll be given more pointers on how to tackle these sort of questions. But if you really now Microsoft is really it's one of the big tech companies, right? So it's unlikely for them to ask this. However, you can say that, yeah, Microsoft provides a really big platform. It has a bigger reach since it's in the big tech company. It's one of the big tech companies. So, since its reach is better, of course, I would like to align. Yeah, I would like to, join
You
Microsoft.
should align your thoughts with the job description basically, because in the job description, the roles and the responsibilities are written. So you can say that yes, these are the responsibilities which I would like to take, and these are my strengths which aligns myself with this job role. So that will also act as a key point that yes, you are interested in this role because of this. So that is why maybe you would like to take on this opportunity or maybe this job role, and also about the Microsoft, its history, about its past, you can say. Then maybe it's your dream company, it has been your dream company, and maybe you can say the reasons uh, for joining Microsoft. And so there are various reasons which you can give. Now it depends on you how you align yourself with that job role and what is the thing that you are looking for before joining Microsoft. So you also need to do a bit research about it, so then you can make up your answer for that.
Yeah, basically, they're looking for a person who is genuine and has a unique skill set, and they are looking to incorporate that person in their workforce, right? So you need to find out what's your strength and sort of make it Microsoft's. Yeah, right. How your strength can help Microsoft, and then you can just
Hello, Deep.
align your answer better. Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Do you have any idea that the other candidates who appeared for the Microsoft interview, like why they were not selected? What are the mistakes
You
they
will have a
committed?
session. You will have a session with them. I
Okay,
think
okay, like
there's people you can ask this to. There will
okay,
be a
ma'am.
session with them.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Dee. You just said ki, only 11 students were selected from your batch. So I wanted to know out of how much 11 were selected? Like, what are the chances of that? That approximation or the strength of how many were selected among you?
I think initially, based on our CGPA or our CV, I think initially 67 or 70 students were selected out of the
Yeah.
entire batch. And then, depending on the rounds, there were people who were not
Entire
selected.
batch
And
in the sense CSC department separately and EC department
See,
separately or all
no,
together?
no,
no, no,
Together,
all
both
together,
together.
together, together.
together.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and somebody
So
asked if EC students have a reduced chance of being selected. I think they ask specific questions for ECE, right? It's different for ECE students um,
Yes, you
the
need
core
to
subjects.
know the basics, but there will be questions based on your subject as well.
Hmm.
Then also you need to focus on the grooming sessions because the teachers are going to teach you about these subjects in details. So
Yeah.
it does not reduce the chances of being selected as such. Also, after the technical interview, I would say that the managerial interview is also very important because I have seen people who were selected in the technical interview, but after that, from the managerial interview, they were not selected. So it's not just clearing about the technical interview. Of course, technical interviews plays a big role, but then you should also be serious for the other rounds, especially for the managerial interview as well.
So was everything done in one day itself?
The
It
group
What's the
discussion,
process?
technical interview, and managerial interview were done in one day, and the another day we had two kind of HR interviews. So in one day three, and then the other day two. Total 5 rounds we had.
Yeah, for me, I think it was I had a few more rounds in between. That was what was different. I had a GD round, then I had my technical round. I had two managerial rounds in quick succession.
So it like
Um,
differs for every person, right?
it
It's not
differs from person to
okay,
person.
okay.
It's spread out across 2 days, and normally you'll be finished with your managerial interview on the first day, and on the second day it will it will continue with the HR interview and the language specialist interview. Sometimes the language specialist and HR will be clubbed together. So yeah, it
It
differs.
Also depends on their level of satisfaction. I would say that if they are satisfied with you in your first interview itself, then there are high chances of you having a lesser number of interviews. So that might also be one thing I could
Oh,
say.
otherwise they just keep on grilling, right? That is the case.
It's not about grilling, but of course they would test you more. It's not about grilling as such, because the interviewers are actually, they are very friendly, so they do not grill you, but of course it's such a big organization, so they would like to test you. It's not about grilling always.
And it's usually a good sign if your interviews are long. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Always.
Then
Because I
it's good.
remember, if the people, one of the people who said, who did not qualify after tech, they said their interview was really short. It was about 20 minutes long. Um, so yeah, so it needs to be. You need to answer more questions, and you need to have knowledge and be able to answer more questions. So that
So you
at the
need to
end of
be
the day,
confident and
yeah.
honest as well in each one of your interviews. Also,
And
what happened in my technical interview was he asked me a question in the beginning and then I answered it and I was like, okay. But then again, after asking me 5 to 6 questions, he again came back to that first question and he asked me to elaborate more on that. So this happens that you need to also remember what you are saying and just you have to defend yourself. That is one thing. You should not get nervous, you should not feel like that. So confidence and honesty are the two things which I think plays the key role in any of your interviews. So you need to be confident as well, you need to be honest. Don't just write something which you do not mean in your CV. That would be my strong recommendation as of now. Yeah.
I
and
think now we can
yeah.
bring wrap up this session. I think if you have just the last few questions, you can ask. And Oshika was saying something when I interrupted. I'm very sorry. So just
It's
go ahead.
okay.
Just
Y-
go ahead, and we'll be
Yeah,
finishing up with the next 5, 10 minutes then.
all right. So, uh, yeah, what I was saying was basically you need to be prepped for anything and everything. They are coming to know you and hire you, so they will take time to know you, and they might ask you questions to know thoroughly about what your personality and how much they would like to hire you and how you would fit into their workforce. So that is there. Also, if you are a night owl, I would suggest that you change your schedule for a couple days ago so that you can match Microsoft's. They start early, about at 9 o'clock or something. You have to be ready by then. So yeah, just change your schedules. Eat light because you might be working on little sleep. So yeah, those are the things you need to keep in mind.
Also, don't rush to answer any question. I mean, maybe let's say they ask you a question and you need time to answer that. So tell them that maybe you need some seconds and then you can prepare your answer and then say that. So don't just rush to answer any question because then you might say anything which is not correct or something like that. So don't just rush to answer any question, I would say.
Hi, I had a question that do they ask about your open source contributions? Like GitHub is of Microsoft, so do they ask anything about that?
If you mention it in your CV, then they might ask you. Otherwise, not. They do not ask.
If
Mm,
you,
thank you.
yeah, if you want to mention those, if they ask you about your projects and you say that you have contributed to open source, it's absolutely well and good. Yeah.
Apart from the grooming sessions that were conducted in the university, what were the things you did yourself to get out of, like, pass those grooming rounds of the Microsoft?
Um, I think probably learning about the topics. That's it. What helps you the most until unless you are confident and see they are going to ask you lots of conceptual questions. So you need to learn in-depth concepts from computer networks itself. That is one thing which I would say. So apart from the grooming sessions, yes, you need to learn the concepts on your own. That is what is the thing.
Yeah, brush up on the concepts, learn about Microsoft and how you can be a good fit into into the company. So yeah, you need to do your homework. That's what's important. And also while searching for the topics, and be thorough in your in your knowledge gaining, right? Just yeah, that's it.
Research
Just
about yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I just remember that there's a myth that people say a lot, that if we mention a topic that we are not clear about or something, they will dive into that topic, and then we'll not be able to answer any more questions. So it's better if we sort of limit our answers, and limit our answers to just a few key terms. It's not like that, right? If you know something, just blurt it out. It's okay if you don't know a if you can't answer in depth. You need to know certain terms, and you need to show that you are aware of these terms, right? If you can always say that I will expand my knowledge on this later, but just don't limit yourself to certain just a few terms. Expand your terminology to a lot more.
Also, if you're actually confident about some topics or some subjects, then only mention it in your CV. Otherwise, please do not mention it in your CV, because might ask you questions from that. So only if you're 100% confident about, let's say, a subject or something like that, then only mention that in your CV, I would say.
Yeah, don't confuse what I said with what Achal just said. What Achal said is absolutely true, and what I said was basically, let's say, within the subject of computer networks, you are always like, I won't mention, let's say, TCP/IP or model or something, and then they will stop asking questions about TCP. Don't do that. Mention it, and if you don't know it, then you can always say that I will need to learn more about this. However, I am aware that this exists. That's how you need to approach the questions.
Mm, some tips for easy background.
I think for
I
this,
feel
uh,
mm,
I think for the ECE background thing, Pooja will be a much better person to ask this question, as she's more experienced. So we'll come to that later. And other than that, I think Angela and Oishika have done an absolutely fantastic discussion session today. And I think it has been rather hectic for them too. And this is the first one that they have taken. And I'm very, very proud of them. I hope it has helped all of you as well to get a primary understanding of what you are going to do, what you should be doing, how you're going to start preparing. We'll have another session with them whenever they are free, maybe next week or something. Um, and other than that, all your other classes will also be starting. Do your English classes as they mentioned. That is very, very important. Your communication skills should be on point. For all, whether Microsoft sometimes has an aptitude round. In their case, it wasn't there, but for all other companies, the very first round will be your aptitude round. So please, please, please attend all the aptitude classes that you're getting in the week. Uh, and what else? I think that is about it. If you have further questions and if you have further doubts, you can always send it to your CR who's going to send it to me, and we'll follow it up. So just one thing, just pay attention to whatever they said. I think the biggest takeaway from what they said is be honest, be authentic, be yourself, and study hard, work hard, do your classes, and be serious about the placement season that's coming
Ma'am,
up.
I was just having a last question to you only, ma'am, that all the grooming classes will be taken online, right? Or it will be offline?
Most of them right now will be online, but since see, this is a very uncertain time. So we are switching between online and offline. Your offline classes will be starting by the end of this month. By 24th, I think your offline classes will be starting. Not yours, fourth year's offline will be starting. Yours will start soon after, maybe from March, your offlines will be starting. So we also are a little in a dilemma how best to conduct the classes in which mode. We'll figure it out as we go along. Nothing is set in stone as of now. You can always give your feedback because what we want here is how best you can take away from all the classes. That is the primary focus. So we will try to accommodate how we can, what we can.
And
Your
ma'am,
feedback
I
is
think that,
always welcome.
yeah, sorry, ma'am. Actually, I said
Yes.
that I think that having offline classes will be better because you will be more disciplined through that. Because online classes
Okay.
necessarily we are not that much
Okay.
Yes, yes,
disciplined.
Okay.
yes.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll
This
keep
is
that in mind.
the answer of every student from our batch and other batches as well, because online classes, even we know and everyone knows that is not going that well rather than offline classes.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll
Where
definitely
people
keep
will
that
not
in mind.
sleep and attend the classes.
So if the vote is more towards offline classes, we'll have more offline classes. I'll keep this in mind. Anything else
Uh,
that you want to say?
I,
We can
ma'am,
always get back. Yeah.
yes, I believe that offline will be better, but in my opinion, because they belong from the near about to college, so it will better for them. Those who are away right now, like for March, we have time. So for shifting, we might take some time. So for now, if you start just right now, like as you were saying, like right now, so it will be difficult for the people who are like far away from Kolkata or they're out of this Kolkata. It will be difficult for them to
But
attend
but
right.
but keep it in mind by at least by mid-March. Please make
Yes, ma'am.
arrangements that you
By
can
that time, I
attend
think
offline.
most of us will be able to
We'll
attend.
we'll
Like,
start slowly.
everything.
Don't worry, we'll start slowly. We'll start with less offline classes in the beginning, and then we'll slowly increase them more and more. Uh, but keep it in mind. Fourth years, by 24th Feb, more or less it will start, and third years, approximately beginning of March.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So I can't thank Oishika and Anjal enough. I mean, thank
Thank
you very
you,
much.
ma'am. Thank you for
And
giving us the
so I
opportunity.
think now we can bring the session to an end.
Thank you, Didi, and congratulations to both of you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks a
Thank
Anjali,
you.
lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
for
Didi.
your future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.